Hello again, this is Bunting with your visual functional mathematics at level 1, section 2 measuring, and today's lesson is on money and lengths. You will learn about working with money and the units of measuring lengths. The keywords and phrases you will familiarize yourself with and understand their meanings are value, discounts, interests, length, units of measure, and conversion. So let's start with money. If you get a question on money, the units will probably be pounds or pence. You need to be able to switch between using pounds and using pence. To get from pounds to pence, you multiply by 100. To get from pence to pounds, you divide by 100. You may get a question that uses pounds and pence. If you do, you'll need to change the units so that they're all in pounds or they're all in pence. If the question tells you what unit to give your answer in, then, of course, make sure you do. If it doesn't, then it makes good sense to always use pounds if the answer is more than 99p. Let's look at this example. Cora buys a sandwich for £3.49, a cup of tea for £1.25, and a packet of crisps for 78p. How much does she need to pay in total? First of all, you need to change the price of the crisps from pence to pounds to give you 0.78. All the prices are in the same units now, so you can simply add 0.78 pounds plus £3.49 plus £1.25 is equal to £5.52. You could also change the prices to pence, add them up, and then you change it back to pounds. That is converting them back to pounds by dividing by 100. So we come across the word conversion. We'll talk about that a bit later. I have here two practice questions for you on set 1. 1. What is £1.27p in pence? B. What is 219 pence in pounds? Question 2. Brian buys a turkey for £23, a loaf of bread for £1.99p, and a pint of milk for 60p. How much does he spend in total? Don't forget, on a question like this, you have to convert either to pounds or to pence, whichever you feel convenient with. And your answer? Question 1A, 127p, B, £2.19p. Question 2, £25 and 59 pence. When you're dealing with money, you will have to deal with discounts or increases as percentages. More money questions often involve percentages. For example, you might have to work out how much you save when you get a discount. You could also be asked the new price of something when the price is increased or reduced by a certain percentage. Let's look at the following examples on the next slides. Example 1. A jacket costs £42. How much money would be saved if a voucher for 15% off is given? This question is just asking you to find 15% of £42. First, you write it down, 15% of £42, and then you turn it into maths. 15 hundredth times 42 because when we're dealing with percentages, we're talking about an amount expressed in terms of hundreds. And then type it into your calculator. 15 divided by 100 times 42, which is equal to £6.30. If you were asked to find the new amount after the discount, you would have to subtract that from 42, which is 42 minus £6.30, and you will get the new amount or the discounted amount as £35.70. Example 2. Pretty goes on a cinema's website. She buys a film ticket for £5.80p and a gift voucher for £15. She is charged an online admin fee of 5% of the total amount. How much does Pretty pay in total? 3 steps. Work out how much she pays before the admin fee, which is, yes, you're correct, add £5.80p and £15, which is equal to £20.80p. Then calculate the admin fee, which is 5% of £20.80p. And that is written as 5/100th times £20.80, which is equal to 5 divided by 100 times £20.80 equals £1.04. Note how £1.04 is written. And then add it on to £20.80, which is £20.80 plus £1.04, which is equal to £21.84. Please do not forget your decimal places. It's important. You'd get the same answer by working out 5% of £5.80 and 5% of £15, then add them together. It's the same principle. Let's look at interests. What is interest? Well, interest comes in 2 ways. If you have a bank account in credit, then you get paid interest every year or every month depending on the condition of your contract. In another way, if you borrowed money from the bank or you have an overdraft, then you have to pay interest. Or if you buy some goods on payment plan, then you have to pay a little bit more. That extra you pay is interest. Example, money saved in a bank account earns interest. Items that you buy on payment also cost more over time because interest is charged on them. When working with interest, calculate the percentage of the amount and then add it onto the original amount, as you'll see in the next example. Cara earns 5% interest on her savings. She has £50 in a bank account. How much money will she have once the interest has been added? And this is how you write it in English. Find 5% of £50. And in maths, 5/100th times 50, which is equal to 5. And then you divide by 100, which is equal to £2.50. Add this onto your £50 and your new balance plus interest would be £52.50. You have 4 practice questions here. Question 1 is just for you to refresh your memory on how to calculate interest. No calculator. And then question 2, 3 and 4 are based on exam type question which involves a little bit more thinking. Question 2 is not too difficult. It says Steve buys a car which would normally cost £3,200, but today there is a 20% discount. What is the reduced price of the car? Question 3 is slightly more complicated. A driving school offers individual lessons for £26 each. If you buy a block of 10 in one go, the school offers a discount of 15%. How much do you save by buying a block of 10? This question it reflects how some businesses improve their cash liquidity situation. If you pay up front, they are more liquid, they have more money in hand. But if you want to pay it over time, then you have to sort of contribute a little bit extra because they don't have ready money to use. In other words, they are not liquid enough. Okay? And then question 4. A season ticket for a football club costs £330 if it is bought in April. If it is bought after April, it costs 25% more. How much does it cost if it is bought after April? That 25% more is the interest element. You have to find out what that 25% will be, and then you add it on to the £330 for your season ticket. We have practice questions 5 and 6, which continues from the previous slide. Practice question 5. David borrows £5,000 to start up a business. He pays back the loan in 1 year plus 30% interest. How much money does David pay back in total? And then question 6, you have to compare the prices of 2 shops. Jemima is buying a lawnmower and a hedge trimmer. She wants to buy the items on a pay monthly plan. The original prices in 2 shops are shown below. Shop A, lawnmower, £150, hedge trimmer, £62. Shop B, lawnmower, £200, hedge trimmer, £85. Shop A charges 35% of the price of the items as interest. Shop B charges no interest. Work out which shop offers the item for the cheaper total. And here are your answers. Questions 1, £3.50. Question 2, £2,560. Question 3, £39. Question 4, £412.50. Question 5, £6,500. And question 6, shop B is cheaper. Check your answers and then correct any mistakes you made and learn from it. We now look at lengths. All measures have units because you have to measure length. Things that you measure have units, for example, meters or grams. They're really important. For example, you can't just say a distance of 4 or a distance of 10. 10 what? 4 what? So you have to add a unit of measure after the number, like 4 miles or 4 meters, 4 kilometers, 10 feet, and so on. If you look at the diagrams below, you will see what I'm talking about. The rectangle is 4 centimeters long and the circle is 30 millimeters wide. Length is how long something is. Some common units for length are millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. Note how they are abbreviated when you're working with them. Here's how some of these units are related, because they're all related. 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeter. 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. And then 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. Sometimes you might need to change something from one unit to another, especially when you're calculating, as we did when we were working with money. To switch between millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometer, you can multiply or divide by 10, 100, or 1,000. Let's look at the diagram underneath to see what we're talking about. Millimeters to centimeters, you divide by 10. To convert from centimeters to meters, you divide by 100. And then to convert from meters to kilometers, you divide by 1,000. If we start from kilometers on the right, to convert from kilometers to meters, we multiply by 1,000. To convert from meters to centimeters, we multiply by 100. And to convert from centimeters to millimeters, we multiply by 10. I've used the word convert several times, so by now we know that conversion means to change, but it has to be relative to what you're doing. Let's look at some examples. Example 1. How many millimeters are there in 20 centimeters? Answer, you're going from centimeters to millimeters. So what do? You multiply by 10, because 10 millimeter is equal to 1 centimeter. So you multiply 20 centimeters by 10, which is equal to 200 millimeters. That is simply splitting the centimeters into millimeters. Okay? 2. What is 3,500 meters in kilometers? Answer, you're going from meters to kilometers, so you divide by 1,000. And then 3,000 divided by 1,000 is equal to 3.5 kilometers. Example 2. Patrick is traveling from his home to his doctor's surgery. He walks 500 meters to the bus stop, then gets on a bus. When he gets on the bus, he has to walk another 250 meters. In total, he travels 2.5 kilometers. You need to read questions like this very carefully and make notes, because it's an exam type question designed to test your ability to analyze a question properly. How many kilometers does Patrick travel on the bus? Not in total, but on the bus. Answer, first of all, convert your units of measure to 1. In this case, change 500 meters and 250 meters into kilometers. So 500 meters is equal to 500 divided by 1,000, which is equal to 0.5 kilometers. 250 meters is equal to 250 divided by 1,000, which is equal to 0.25. What do you do next? You have to add those two answers and subtract it from the 2.5 kilometers, which is the total distance he traveled. So Patrick walks 0.5 plus 0.25, which is equal to 0.75 kilometers. Then you subtract this distance from 2.5 kilometers to find how far he travels by bus. By bus. So 2.5 minus 0.75 is equal to 1.75. So maths is like a jigsaw. You need to make sure you find the correct parts before you can work out your problem. Practice question set 3. This is quite interesting. How many centimeters are there in 2 meters, 50 millimeters, 1.5 meters? This is just to test your ability to convert. Ivy is planning to swim 5,000 meters for a charity. How far is she planning to swim in kilometers? Kirsten buys a dining table that is 1.7 meters long. How long is the dining table in centimeters? Question 4. Roy is planning a journey for his sister and himself to the seaside. He needs to drive 5,000 meters from his house to his sister's house, then 170 kilometers to the service station, then 60 kilometers to the seaside. How far does it travel in total? Again, do not forget to convert all the units to 1 unit. Okay? Question 5. A wall in Nee's bedroom is 2.3 meters wide. He buys a wardrobe that is 125 centimeters wide and a chest of drawers that is 90 centimeters wide. Will they both fit against the wall? Explain your answer. Here again, you have to convert all of them to the same unit before you can solve this problem. And that's your answer. Read it carefully. Question 5, you have to explain your answer. So yes, that's your first answer. And then the explanation is to show the working. Okay? And write it in English, please. What have we learnt? You now know that using money involves pounds and pence. You know how to change money units from pounds to pence and from pence to pounds. You know how to calculate discounts and adjust from original to discounted price. You know that interest may be added to the value of loans and purchases over long term. You know how to calculate interests. You now know that lengths are measured in units. You know the different units of lengths. And finally, you now know how to change from one unit to another, or how to convert from one unit to another. You will notice that I am now combining different topics in my lessons. For example, we've just looked at money and we've looked at length. The reason for that is I don't want to be making individual lessons per topic because it will cost more to download these materials. But not only that, you don't want to waste your time and energy finding out things which you could find in one lesson. So all you need to do is get the video, take the topics one at a time as I explained them in the lesson introduction at the start, and then when you're happy with one topic, you move on to the next. Okay? So, take care of yourselves, and thanks.